Our breakfast time for us to be inspired. Inspirational Monday with Dr. Wale Akinyemi. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yep.
I was just thinking about what we're going to discuss today, which is mindfulness, living in the moment, living in the present. And sometimes it feels like we'd rather be anywhere but where we are right now.
Yeah.
We're living in the past. We're living in the future. Not a lot of us are truly, taking advantage of the now. Why is that?
Well, it's because for many people, you hear the good old days.
Yeah.
And so they'd rather live in the good old days, especially if what's happening today doesn't come out as good as what they experienced. And then you have other people, if it's not the good old days, it is what I'm going to be.
Yeah.
I see those two are not happening right now. Good old days, it's gone forever.
Not coming back.
It's not coming back, Now, where you want to be, it's a gamble if you've not planned properly for it. So most people, would rather stay in those two places. You see, where you are right now makes a demand on you, and we don't like that. We don't like things that make a demand on us.
Right.
The past doesn't make a demand.
Yeah.
The future makes a demand, but you can put it aside.
You can
You can
put it off for a while.
But you see, the present right now, it makes a demand. There are certain things you have to do. We have dreams. Where we are today is a function of what we did yesterday. So we have dreams we want to accomplish. We have things we want to do. But if we are not, every dream has a demand. And that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between setting goals, which I think is a necessary part of, having those dreams, or worrying about the future? Because as soon as you set the goals and you realize, well, I'm not making the strides I need to get where I want to be, worry creeps in. So what's the fine line there? How do we separate those two things?
No, I think it's very, very important to, if you don't know where you're going, you will get down where you're dropped. And that's just one of the facts of life. So if we don't have a plan for where we can be, then we will always just be confined where we have been. So, but the challenge is many times we project where we want to be, but we don't ask ourselves what's the demand of that dream. So people have all these fantastic dreams which are valid, but they have not taken time to say, okay, this dream, what am I going to need to make it happen? What capacity requirements? Who do I need? What relational requirements do I need? And what environment is it going to happen? Where do I need to be in my thinking? What kind of social environment? I mean, there are a lot of questions we need to ask ourselves. But unfortunately, we don't. So we just have the dream. I had a dream many years ago that I want to consult for some of the biggest organizations in the world. I don't want to be a local champion.
Yeah.
There's no advantage in being the most intelligent amongst the ignorant. So I said, I want to, no matter which country I work, I want to be a global citizen. Now, that was a valid dream a few years ago. Then I began to ask myself certain questions. That, okay, if I want to be that person, what is the culture of the destination? What is the mindset I need for where I want to be? What's the kind of knowledge? When I am taken and thrown into some country in the Middle East or some country in whatever, what kind of conversations am I supposed to have? And for the conversation, that means what kind of knowledge base am I supposed to... Now, those are all the things that went into developing that brand that is today. And so I can work in Qatar, I can work in different countries and still fit in very well.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of hard work that was put in to defining who I wanted to be and understanding the demands of who I wanted to be.
Right, and without understanding those demands, it can be a bit overwhelming. Right?
It will be, absolutely. It will be very overwhelming, because you get to a place and what was accepted in location A, you get to location B and it's a taboo, you know. And the kind of conversation you're having, you realize that you are not, and I think the key word, which is the word I think has been my key word for this year, is the word relevance. People don't celebrate you or pay you because you are intelligent. They pay you because you are relevant. Now, the Oxford Dictionary defines relevance as being closely connected to. So, you will get paid or celebrated because you are relevant or closely connected to what is happening. And there are two areas of relevance, or maybe more areas, but some key areas I want to focus on. You have to be relevant to the times, closely connected to the time you're living in. I remember I was speaking somewhere a few years ago, and I got, young people, and I got very offended because the picture, the image I was seeing suggested that they were not listening to me. It suggested that they were playing with their phones and gadgets while I was speaking. Later on, I found out they were all taking notes. Now, if you're disconnected with the time in which you're living, I could have gotten offended and I could have blown something that was really great. So we have to be relevant, and there's nothing like once intelligent, always intelligent. At a point, the person who developed or invented the typewriter was considered intelligent. That intelligence is no more relevant. When I was young in our church, we raised a lot of money because we wanted to buy a pipe organ. Okay? And, but that intelligence is not relevant. You have a keyboard there, and there's a button that says pipe organ. So
a constant evolution.
Exactly. And once we enter the mode of I am intelligent and I am not developing and building on that intelligence, you will be relevant in an era, but absolutely not relevant in another era. You can be relevant in one society and not relevant in another society. So relevance, and this is how to maximize the present. You must be relevant to the times. Secondly, you must be relevant to people. And this is very important for those in organizations, HR, business owners, and all that. The fact that, even before I go to people, let's look at something that's been in the news where most people will not take a 21-year-old very seriously when it comes to influencing big business. Snapchat made some adjustments to their stuff, and Kylie Jenner was unhappy with it.
And she tweeted about it.
She tweeted about it, and they lost $1.3 billion in 24 hours. 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, Rihanna was unhappy, and they lost another $800 million. So now, relevant, now we must be relevant to the times. You must understand the time we're living in. And that even in politics, in any area, you find out that you don't win politically because you are intelligent. You won because your position was relevant. You were connected with the electorate. So, relevance with the time, relevance with people. I was doing a study 2 weeks ago and looking at the history of PayPal. Now, PayPal had all these phenomenal minds working there. They had a very, very loose culture and so on and so forth. Then PayPal was bought over by eBay. And eBay brought a different kind of culture and structure, not being relevant with the people that were there. So guess what? Those people that made PayPal began to leave. Now, you know what the companies those people formed? One of them went and formed LinkedIn. Another two of them went and formed YouTube. Elon Musk went and formed Tesla and SpaceX and so on. Now, the big thing is, that means all those brains could have been in this place. That means Tesla could have been owned by eBay. If we are not relevant to the people, we're not connecting with the people around us, then you may find out that we miss out on what they have to offer. I had a mentor who would, when I was learning how to write proposals, every time I wrote proposal, he would just cancel it and say, this is useless, this is useless. I felt so offended that I put my effort into this. At least appreciate my effort and all that. He didn't do any of that. But later on, now I can write those things in my sleep. Now I do what he was doing for me for other people. And I realized that anything that makes a demand on you to be better is good for you. Now, if you're not connected with that reality, you miss out on some of the greatest things of your life. All right? Then, of course, being relevant to the times, being relevant to people, being relevant to your environment. You know? Because I was thinking about it, having a conversation with my son yesterday, and we're talking about, and I made the statement somewhere where I was speaking that people pay you for solutions. You know? And so that means the bigger the problem you're solving, the more you're paid. And I said, with that argument, Africa should have the wealthiest people on earth. With that argument. Because we have so many problems that need solutions. But unfortunately, we were raised, and this is where I talk about relevance, and I'm happy with the new curriculum coming up in school, for schools and all that, because a lot of us in Africa were not raised to solve problems. We were raised to be beneficiaries of problems solved by others. We were not raised to look for the solutions we can offer. We were raised to look for jobs. We were raised to look for what has already been. So African youth, a lot of us were not raised to be creative.
To be innovators,
Yes, we were not. And what made you a good student in school is actually what makes you a bad student of life. Because what makes you a good student in school is that everything the teacher asked you for, you were able to reproduce and give to the teacher exactly the way the teacher gave it to you. The person that asked the teacher, why this way, was considered rebellious. You know, when I was young, my mother bought me a watch. I was 5, 6 years old. She bought me a watch. And she said, I put it on my right hand. And she said, no, Wale, put it on the left. I said, why? She said, you're too stubborn. That's how people have always done it. And from then, I put it on my right. And that was nearly 50 years ago. And I am still alive. So there was no consequence for putting the watch on my left.
Isn't that interesting?
No consequence whatsoever. But we just did it. And you see, a lot of the African youth were trained to say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Anything we are given, we must reproduce it the way it was given to us. So no questions. Now, unfortunately, when you move into the real world does not operate on that script. If you don't ask why this, why that, someday somebody will ask why you. We need to ask questions.
Yeah.
And it is only when we ask questions that we can offer solutions. And so when we talk about being relevant, you cannot be relevant if you're not asking the right questions. The question most young people are asking, where can I get a job?
Yeah.
The question that will make them relevant, what problem can I solve? And until we begin to ask the relevant questions, we will not be relevant. So you will have a whole bunch of people who are frustrated because they are super intelligent. They are brilliant people, but you are not rewarded. The world does not reward intelligence. The world rewards relevance.
Yeah. When we talk about mindfulness, and I think it's a very intentional thing to wake up in the morning and say, you know, I'm going to go through this day looking for opportunities, like you're saying, looking for solutions to problems. But a lot of us have a problem just sitting still. I mean, people are just busy doing busy work and feeling like they're achieving things, but it's not very deliberate, I would say. So maybe you can talk about what mindfulness means to you or how it translates in your day-to-day life.
For me, you know, one day I listened to a speech by Nelson Mandela, and he said, the day he wakes up and does not know what he's going to do, he's close to dying. And one of the things we have, you have great plans for next few years, but one thing that I learned that worked for me personally is this: break the long term into small bits.
Yep.
If I can achieve my daily goals, then I will achieve my weekly goals. If I achieve my weekly goals, I will achieve my monthly goals. If I achieve my monthly goals, then I will achieve my quarterly goals. If I achieve my quarterly goals, I will achieve my yearly goals. And if I make a habit of achieving my yearly goals, I will fulfill my destiny. But it all starts with that daily goal. Even if the daily goal is every morning when I wake up, I will make my bed. Even if it is that goal.
Yeah.
If it is every day I am going to read 2 chapters of a book. Even if it is every day I'm going to respond to every message that comes to me. You see, very, very simple things.
Yeah.
But those are the things that build the character and the fortitude for achieving the big ones.
Yeah, so you just start small and break things down, like you said.
Think big, start small, and grow fast.
Wow. Very, very powerful. And I think we'll just go ahead and end it on that note.
Perfect.
Dr. Wale, it's been great to have you here.
Thank you.
And we look forward to having you more on
Thank
Inspiration Monday. We are going to listen to some music from Carlos Kiba next. And don't forget, Willis and Fred went mini golfing, and we'll be bringing you their experience a little bit later on. Stay tuned. This is Power Breakfast.